tell me who you are and where you work.
Okay, my name is Nadia Bood, and I work for World Wildlife Fund in Belize.
Okay, and you've been part of the coastal zone management plan that's involved these ecosystem service science and mapping. Can you talk a little bit about how that's been incorporated into policy in Belize and what you hope it'll change?
Yeah, I think the coastal management process in Belize has been something very innovative for Belize. In the past, there has been attempts at trying to plan, for development within the country, not only along the coast, but inland as well. But it never factored in the services, and actually modeling those services. It was approached from a very theoretical manner, so we know that the ecosystems provide goods and services, but we couldn't quantify that. We couldn't quantify it spatially either, no? So I think having a PAC and having involving marine invest in the whole process has really pushed the effort along and has really bringing like a major buy-in, for ecosystem services in the country.
Yeah. So there's this coastal zone management plan in Belize. What's its status now?
Okay. We've been from 1998. There has been a coastal zone management strategy, and there has been a coastal zone management act for Belize that spells out that a plan needs to be developed for the country of Belize. But this, we know that we knew the importance of this, but there, for some reason, maybe it may have been for resources, both technical and financial, that never became a reality until we were able to reach partnership with NatCap through World Wildlife Fund US, no? Mm-hmm. And so, with that came the opportunity to bring the expertise in country to meet, connect those with the Coastal Zone Management Authority and Institute and other government counterparts and other NGOs as well, interested partners pretty much, and that moved the process along.
Yeah.
And so, what we have now is a user, a user-friendly document more or less, that spells out what Belize, should look at when you think about coastal planning, for the next few years.
Yeah.
And the plan is, it's realized that the plan will be something that it's going to be iterative, We knew that we need to factor in changes as the situations and condition changes. But it's a very good start, pretty much,
Yeah. And what kind of information from all the science that the Natural Capital Project did, what kind of information made it into that plan?
Yeah.
And how's that going to get used, probably?
Yeah, a lot of important information was factored into it. NatCap, team did their own mapping, plus they brought in baseline information from outside, and they did some modeling work as well. And it looks at tourism. It looks at tourism recreation. It looks at fisheries. I must add that Belize, the country of Belize, the economy is highly dependent on two main industries, tourism and fisheries. Second, on a secondary, or tertiary basis, there's agriculture as well, no? Mm-hmm. So it was very important to map out, the goods and services being provided by those economies, those industries, and to show not only government but also the private sector, the importance of trying to protect or sustainably manage those ecosystems or that resources. Yeah. So we look at the goods and services from tourism recreation, fisheries. They look at also agriculture activities along the coast. They look at physical parameters such as they try to look at potential impact from storms and hurricanes, potential impacts from sea level rise, and how that will impact not only the ecosystem but also the sectors and the communities that are dependent on those ecosystems.
Yeah. And so, how do you think this information, now that it's part of the plan, is going to change decisions or policies in Belize, if at all?
I think it's gonna get all over buy-in. Huh? Mm-hmm. For years we've been realizing that this has been a gap. We've been seeing haphazard, development taking place in a very haphazard manner. We've been seeing, fragmentation of ecosystems. We've been seeing increased vulnerability, to people and communities and infrastructure along the coast, all because of the way we use, the ecosystem. We were just using it without quantifying the footprint we are having on the ecosystem. Yeah. So now, and there have been a major outcry from the public for it as well. And so I know the government is going to support it, but even if the government didn't support it, there would have been a major pressure from the public to put, for them to internalize this in moving forward.
Yeah.
A good part is that, we are starting to look at other sectors too that might undermine the coastal the sustainable coastal management process, like for example tourism. We are about to jumpstart a project. Well, we are in the process, the initial phase of a project that looks at climate compatible tourism development, using the same process and data and tool, and maps that were created through the coastal planning process.
Yeah.
And and so that's a way for us to put in sync the National Tourism Master Plan with the Coastal Zone Management Plan, to bridge those together. Because the Ministry of Tourism really liked the process that was taken for development of the Coastal Zone Management Plan.
Yeah.
And so they want to, bring in those same kind of application into the revision of their master plan and even their policy.
Wow, that's great. So the idea of ecosystem services, was that widely known and understood before this partnership?
No.
Or is that now kind of understood in a way that it wasn't before, just in a basic way?
It before this coastal planning process, the idea of ecosystem service was something abstract.
Yeah.
It wasn't. We, as I mentioned before, we knew that ecosystems are important, and maybe us who are conservationists or scientists knew that, but the public and the stakeholders didn't know that. So that brought attention to that factor.
Yeah. Was it important to have really sophisticated science and maps, or could we just have talked about ecosystem services and raised that general issue and had the same effect?
I think a complement of both. We don't want to, use a lot of technical jargon, especially when you're talking about tour guides, tourism people, or fishermen who are not, knowledgeable from a scientific viewpoint. So you have to at least explain it to them in a more, maybe you could say layman term, plus the use of graphics. That gets through to them.
Yeah.
And even if they can be involved in the mapping process, cutting out things and so forth, they feel that they sort of internalize the whole process and feel like this belongs to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. Nadia Bood, thank you very much.